The doctor smiled at me like she was about to hand me good news. I didn't smile back. "You're about 9 weeks along," she said. 9 weeks. I did the math before she even finished her sentence, and my stomach dropped. Because 9 weeks put it right around the one night I swore to myself would never happen again. The night I saw my ex-husband for the first time in 5 months. The night neither of us planned, and neither of us talked about after. I sat there in a paper gown, hands already shaking, thinking about how 7 months ago I'd signed papers ending a marriage. I didn't know yet if what was on that screen was even going to make it. Not after last time. But I already knew one thing. Whatever happened next, it was never going to let that divorce stay quiet. 7 months isn't long. Not when you're trying to unlearn 14 years of loving one person. Ethan and I got married when I was 27. In his dad's backyard. String lights. My mother crying more than I did. 6 years married. 14 if you count before that. Nobody cheated. Nobody yelled. We lost our daughter 3 years ago, 32 weeks, and grief didn't blow the marriage apart. It just went quiet in it. Ethan disappeared into his workshop. I disappeared into my flower shop. Two people getting politer and politer with each other until politeness was all that was left. By the time we sat across from a lawyer's desk, neither of us was angry, just tired. He signed his name, looked up and said, "I still don't hate you, Mags." "I know," I told him. "That's the worst part." Since then, my whole life fit inside one small apartment that still smelled like new paint because I hadn't lived in it long enough yet to make it smell like me. I thought I'd gotten good at being alone. I really did. 3 weeks before that appointment, my body started doing things I recognized in the worst possible way. Exhaustion that wasn't normal exhaustion. Nausea that showed up for no reason at 7 at night. A cycle that had already been unpredictable since the divorce, going quiet in a way I couldn't explain away anymore. I bought the test at a pharmacy 2 towns over, so nobody who knew me would see me buying it. I sat on my bathroom floor for 3 minutes. That felt like 3 years. 2 lines. I made the appointment under my maiden name. I don't know why. Maybe some part of me thought a different name might get a different result. It didn't. The appointment was 3 days later. This is where we came in, except I hadn't told you all of it yet. The exam room was cold in that specific way exam rooms always are, like they're built to keep you a little too alert. I'd already changed into the paper gown, the one the nurse practically had to talk me into, and I lay back on the table with my hands already shaking. The same hands you saw at the start of all this. The technician squeezed gel onto the wand and started moving it. And I stared at the ceiling tile instead of the screen, because I already knew what silence sounded like right before bad news. I'd heard that particular silence before, 3 years ago, in a room that looked almost exactly like this one. She moved the wand, paused, moved it again. "Give me just a second," she said in the calm voice medical people use that is somehow more frightening than panic would be. 10 seconds. 15. I stopped breathing somewhere around 8 of them. Then a sound, fast, steady, whooshing, like a tiny drum in a tiny room of its own. "There she is," the technician said, turning the screen toward me. Strong heartbeat, right on schedule. I didn't cry in that room. I think some part of me didn't trust it yet. Didn't trust good news to just sit there and be good news. No catch, no asterisk. I made it all the way to my car before it hit me. I sat in the parking lot with my hands still shaking on the wheel, and I cried the kind of crying that comes from somewhere old, not just today, because the last time I heard the word strong heartbeat, they hadn't stayed true. And some part of me, the part that still wakes up some nights reaching toward a nursery that never got finished, didn't know if I could survive loving someone that much again, only to lose them a second time. I didn't call anyone. I just sat there, one hand on my stomach, doing the math again and again, because 9 weeks meant there was only one man on earth this could belong to, and he had no idea. Here's the part I hadn't told anyone yet, sitting in that parking lot. 9 weeks earlier, I'd run into Ethan at the cemetery. We'd never once talked about it, but every year on our daughter's birthday, we both still went, separately. I used to time it for early morning before the shop opened, so I could cry alone and pull myself together before anyone needed me to smile. That morning, I got there at 7, and his truck was already parked on the gravel. He was sitting cross-legged in front of her stone in his work jacket, holding a little pinwheel, the kind you win at a fair. He looked up when he heard my footsteps. Neither of us said anything for a second. Then he just scooted over on the grass, like he'd been saving me a seat. We sat there almost 2 hours. He told me about a chair he was building for a client in Vermont. I told him business had been slow since the flower district raised its prices. Small, safe things. And then, somewhere around the 4th hour of talking in his kitchen, because neither of us wanted the conversation to end yet, it turned into something neither of us planned and neither of us talked about after. He drove me home the next morning. We hugged at my door like two people saying goodbye at an airport. I told myself it didn't mean anything. Grief does that. It makes you reach for whoever remembers the same things you do. I didn't hear from him after that. I didn't reach out either. I told myself it was better that way. For 4 days after the appointment, I told no one. I made quiet, ridiculous plans to disappear. Move to my sister's place in Ohio. Have the baby somewhere nobody would ask questions. Let Ethan keep living the life he'd rebuilt without me anywhere in it. I ran every version of telling him through my head, and every version ended badly. What if he thought I'd done this on purpose? Some kind of trap to pull him back in? What if the first thing he felt wasn't love, but fear? Fear that grief was about to drag him through all of it a second time? What if he called a lawyer of his own? And I spent the next 18 years fighting over custody with a man I used to fall asleep next to every night. But every time I pictured driving away without telling him, I heard his voice from 3 years ago, cracked open with grief, asking me why nobody had called him sooner when things went wrong the first time. I couldn't do that to him again. Whatever we were now, he deserved to know. I called him on a Tuesday night, sitting on my kitchen floor with my back against the cabinets, because standing felt like too much. He picked up on the second ring. "Mags, everything okay?" Just hearing him say my name like that, like he still had the right to worry about me, nearly undid the whole speech I'd practiced in the mirror. "I need to tell you something," I said, "and I need you not to talk until I'm done, or I'm going to lose my nerve." Silence, then quieter. "Okay." So I told him. The cemetery, the night at his place, the 9 weeks, the strong heartbeat that scared me more than it comforted me. When I stopped talking, the silence on his end lasted so long, I thought the call had dropped. "Ethan, I'm here." His voice sounded wrecked. I need a second." I gave him one, then another. I could hear him breathing, and somewhere behind him, a table saw powering down, like he'd been in the middle of something ordinary, when his whole life tilted sideways again. "Are you keeping it?" he finally asked, not accusing. Careful, the way you ask a question. You're terrified of the wrong answer too. "Yes," I said. "I don't know what this means for you and me, but yes. Can I see you? I'm not asking for anything. I just can't do this over the phone, not after last time." We both knew what he meant by last time. He'd found out about our daughter from a nurse in a hospital hallway because I'd been too far inside my own panic to think to call him first. That mistake had cost us something we never fully got back. I wasn't going to make it twice. We met at a diner 2 days later. Vinyl booths, a pie case by the register, somewhere that had never belonged to us as a couple. He stood up when I walked in, which felt oddly formal for a man I used to fall asleep next to for 6 years. We didn't hold hands. Mostly, we just talked, carefully, like two people diffusing something instead of celebrating it. "I'm scared," he admitted, turning his coffee cup in slow circles. "Every good thing we've had to fight to keep. I don't know if I've got another fight like that left in me." "I don't either," I said. "But I don't want to do this without you knowing. Whatever this is, whatever we are." He nodded slowly. "Then let's find out. Slow. No promises neither of us can keep." It wasn't a reunion, but it was honest. And after everything, honest felt like more than I'd expected to get. For 8 days after the diner, I didn't hear from him. No texts, no calls. He missed the check-in appointment I told him about, the small one, blood work only. Nothing that mattered medically, but he'd shown real intent at the diner. And then, nothing. Every hour of silence rebuilt a wall I thought we'd already started taking down. By day 6, I'd convinced myself I knew exactly what was happening. He'd had time to think it through, and thinking it through had scared him worse than the phone call had. I told myself I understood. I told myself I wasn't angry. Both were lies. By day 8, I had a bag half packed on my bed and my sister's address typed into my phone's Maps app, my thumb hovering over Start. I told myself Ohio wasn't running away. I told myself it was just easier for everyone if I stopped waiting to be left twice by the same man. I was still standing over that bag when someone knocked on my door. He looked like he hadn't slept. I went back to the cemetery, he said, before I could even ask. Every day this week. I needed to know if I could actually do this. Be a father again, without spending 9 months waiting for something to go wrong, without being so scared of losing her that I forgot to actually be there. For her. For you. And? I asked, my hand still on the door, not quite ready to let go of it. I don't know yet, he said, but I know disappearing on you was the worst possible way to find out. I'm sorry, I'm here now, if you'll still have me be. I looked at the bag on my bed behind me. Then I opened the door wider. That's how the months after went. Slow, careful. 2 people testing whether the floor would hold this time before putting their full weight on it. He came to every appointment after that, no exceptions. At the 20-week scan, the one where they check everything, I hadn't told him that the last time I sat in a room like that, the technician's face had changed and nothing had been the same after. I didn't have to tell him. He remembered on his own. I felt his hand find mine on the armrest before either of us decided it should. When the heartbeat came through the speaker, steady and completely, boringly normal, he put his forehead down against my hand and just breathed. I didn't say anything. Some things don't need narrating, even for me. Outside in the parking lot, he cried. The first time since the funeral. I keep waiting for the bad part, he said. I don't know how to just let something be good. Me neither, I told him. Maybe we figure out how to be scared together instead. I don't know if there's a difference anymore. Sundays became ours again, quietly, without either of us naming it. He'd bring offcuts of walnut and oak to show me, because he knew I still liked the smell of fresh cut wood. I'd bring him whatever was blooming that week, because old habits don't ask permission to come back. We didn't talk about remarriage. We didn't talk about him moving back in. But somewhere between the 20-week appointment and the 28-week one, I noticed I'd stopped flinching every time my phone rang with his name on it. And I noticed he'd started saying our daughter instead of the baby, quietly, like he was trying the words on to see if they still fit him. They did. I'm 34 weeks now. My due date is 6 weeks out, and Ethan finished the crib himself, obviously. Walnut, hand-sanded, no nails, the kind of thing that outlasts whoever built it. People ask sometimes if we're back together. I never quite know how to answer that. I'm not divorced anymore in the way that matters, not in my chest. But we're not the same 2 people who stood in his father's backyard 14 years ago, and I don't think we're trying to be them again. What I know is this. He shows up. Every appointment, every Sunday, every 2 a.m. text when I can't sleep because she's using my ribs as a trampoline. When I'm scared now, I call him first, not last. Whatever this is between us, not quite a marriage, not quite a friendship, something we're still building one honest joint at a time. It's ours. Maybe we'll fall in love again the way we did the first time. Maybe we already have, just quieter, without the fireworks. Built by 2 people who know exactly what it costs to lose each other and decided the cost was too high to risk twice. I don't know how our story ends. I'm not sure anyone really does. But 6 weeks from now, there's going to be a little girl with, if the ultrasounds are right, her father's stubborn jaw. and whatever Ethan and I end up calling ourselves after that. She's going to grow up knowing that when everything fell apart, the two people who made her chose over and over to show up anyway. That's not a fairy tale. It's just love coming back the long way. Slower, quieter, built this time to hold weight.